Andrew from SACS, and welcome to video number 5 in our sequence on candidate attraction and candidate evaluation. So we've dealt with the candidate attraction sequence in earlier videos, and we've started off by talking about the fact that there is good science to rank the accuracy of different recruitment techniques, interviews, reference checks, psych testing, those kinds of things. And we're getting into specific recruitment techniques now, I think called biodata scoring. That's what this video is about. In the next video, we'll be talking about behavioural interviewing and so on through the various forms of candidate evaluation. Now, in any recruitment process, you end up with a pile of candidates. It might be a big pile, like 150, or it might be a little pile, like 5, 10, 15. Biodata scoring is a method by which you can take the person's CV, and before you receive any applications, you can decide what you're looking for and you can develop a scoring system for doing this. When we look at the ranking of accuracy of recruitment techniques, you'll find that this is actually a very effective way of improving your accuracy. And in fact, biodata scoring, in other words, reading the CV in a planned and structured fashion, can be as accurate as many interviews. Firstly, you'll have to identify the competencies required to achieve the real-world outcomes. In other words, in an earlier video, I explained this concept called outcome-based job definition and how that's changing the world of job definition and improving it markedly, defining jobs in terms of outcomes rather than tasks. So, to build a good biodata scoring process, you need to have thought through the outcomes that the job needs to achieve. And then what you'll do is you'll evaluate the CV to see whether the experience that the person has had so far makes it likely that they will be able to undertake the competencies to deliver the outcomes in your job. Now, this goes back to a really simple but an absolutely crucial rule of recruitment, which is the best predictor of the future is the past. So if you're asking somebody to do something that they have never done in their life before, well, they may be able to do it, but the risk that they won't is much increased. So if you're asking somebody to do something on a larger scale that they've actually done before, the probability that they'll be able to do that is quite strong. Similarly, if you're going to ask somebody to do something which is similar to what they've done in the past but more complex, then that's feasible as well. But if you're asking somebody to achieve an outcome that they've never achieved in their life before, then don't be surprised if they can't do it. One of the things that you might do is getting the decision makers in the room at one time to agree this. In other words, when you're hiring somebody, you might have a line manager, you might have HR, you might have the line manager's boss, you might have various stakeholders. If you're going to build this kind of a thing, it's a really good idea to do it in a collaborative form. Get everybody in the room so that you have a shared view about the outcomes that the job needs to achieve and what you're going to favour in the CV. Now, if you do this, the probability of ending up with errors is much reduced, and this is a smart way of going about it. What you can then do is identify as a group what are the most important things to look for in the CV and develop a simple scoring method for background. Simple as ABC. At SACS, when we're evaluating these candidates in this way, A means somebody who's got all of the competencies that we're looking for as evidenced by their CV. B means maybe, and C means definitely not. And we reject the C's straight away and we go back to the B's to try to clarify whether they actually have delivered the outcomes that we're looking for in this job previously. And the A's, well, it's just obvious that they're the ones that we should proceed with. Predictiveness of 0.35, that's not a percentage, but it can be converted into a percentage by squaring it. And what it means is that you'll get about 12% accuracy purely and simply out of building a biodata scoring method. So that's worth having. Now, here's an example. Here, what we're talking about is we're looking for certain activities in their CV to date. So the job needs to deliver a budget outcome. So the first item here is evidence of having managed a budget. Another outcome that the job needs to deliver is growing the business. And so evidence of having managed growth. The third criterion is having led teams in multiple locations. And as you read the CV, you've got the opportunity to rate the person's capabilities or rate the person's experience to date out of 10. 10 means extremely strong. 0 means as weak as possible. 5 would be neither good nor bad. And so by scoring these things, it allows you to come up with a numerical score overall for the candidate. Now, I would suggest that you really shouldn't have more than, let's say, a maximum of 5, 6, maybe 7. 5 is a good number for this at a maximum. And certainly if you've got a simple scoring system, this can be very helpful for having due diligence in the process of how you're deciding to interview certain candidates. But you understand why I'm saying it's a good idea to come up with these ideas collaboratively before setting off and reading the CVs. Because I'm sure many people in the recruitment business, in-house or commercial recruiters, have had the experience where they've presented candidates and the client's saying, well, why is this person here? Well, if you've gone through this process, it reduces the probability of that happening. We've talked about ranking the accuracy of recruitment methods. We've shown you the idea of biodata scoring and developing a simple scoring system. We're going to give you a crash course on the absolute crucial components of behavioural interviewing. Now, there are many extensive courses on behavioural interviewing, but from a research point of view, there are certain really crucial vitamins that makes behavioural interviewing work well, and how to build behavioural interviewing questions. Join me for the next video to get the inside knowledge on how to build really strong behavioural interview questions simply.